It is the 22nd of January. This is probably the fourth time I've gone to record a vlog, but for whatever reason it just hasn't worked out. First one was as I was building the outdoor table, so I'll start with that. Quite happy with that. The jarrah from that was stuff Mum and Dad got probably 30 years ago, maybe a bit more. So it is old timber. Dad used to build a lot of furniture. He wasn't a woodworker as such, he was a do-anything sort of person. So he built a fair bit of furniture, some of it jarrah. Unfortunately, some of it he wasn't a woodworker, so some of the techniques like allowing for wood movement and proper joinery just didn't pan out for him. The leftover jarrah from what he did, the furniture that he made, and the house I grew up in, the kitchen from that was all jarrah. So the leftover from that has been stored under the house here, and Mum has this idea that it is worth a lot more than it is. Yeah, it's covered in paint in some pieces. There's nail holes, and you can see the iron leaching from it. It's just not in great nick, and her belief is that once wood is old enough, it doesn't move. So it's fine to leave it in the humid part, and oh, it got wet, so clearly it'll stay dead flat. So most of the boards are like 19 mil maybe. But they're like potato crisp. I could maybe rip them, but some of them are nailed together, so I don't know whether I'd hit nails if it was ripping. So that was one of the last usable pieces of it. So on the table, I use this Saddlein hardwood oil. This is available at Bunnings. I think it was about $36 or something. I've not made any outdoor furniture before, so I wasn't super sure on what to use. Well, I take that back. I've made the one outdoor kitchen, which it'll get UV damage, but it probably won't get any other elemental damage because it's behind some plastic sheets and stuff, clear plastic screening. So I could have gone for the polyurethane. Not a big fan of that. You'd have to pay a lot more attention when you're actually putting it on. With the hardwood oil, you just have to slap it on and then wipe it off. And I figured that if this worked okay, sort of similar to decking oil, great, I can keep using it. If it doesn't pan out, I can always put polyurethane over it, but I can't really go the other way around without sanding everything back. So quick solution, relatively cheap option, and if it works out, great. It feels fantastic rather than the real plastic layer of polyurethane. It does remind me a lot of Organ Oil's Danish oil. Now, if you've not used this before, this isn't actually what most companies would sell as Danish oil. This doesn't contain any polyurethane. It is pretty much tung oil. Smells very similar to the Saddlein stuff. It looks similar in a can. It goes on similar. You let it soak in for a bit, then you wipe off the excess. And if you don't, it goes tacky. Exactly the same for both of these. As I mentioned, it's been getting quite hot here. The weather's fluctuating sort of 20 degrees Celsius either way. For anyone in Australia, that's pretty much how it's been for the last month or so. So I've bit the bullet and I've ordered Thermadoor panels. They had a sale, I think it was 20% off, so that sort of pushed me over the edge. That should be arriving on Wednesday, so I'm not sure when I'll publish this, but in a couple of days time. So I'll probably do another vlog when I'm installing that. I'm not sure if I'll do a project video type thing, but just give you a bit of an overview when I actually install it myself. I've been making another Triptych, potentially Triptych. A while ago I mentioned that Pete had sent me a whole bunch of stuff, including a spare Incra miter gauge that he had, because he got angry at me for not having a miter gauge. So he solved a problem I had, and I said that I would make him a Triptych as a thank you type thing. So I've been cutting that up. Had a slab of blackwood that wasn't super great. At its narrowest point it was about 300 mil, then it flared out to about 500 and then back to 400. By cutting it up, I've actually got quite a usable thing. So it was about 50 millimeters thick. So I've got 4 pieces from that now. I resawed it, broke a blade, and now I've got essentially 2 Triptychs. Though talking about it in the chat room, we're sort of leaning towards a coffee table. It won't have the inlaid gum nuts and stuff that I had last time. It'll just be resin tinted, probably a dark gold with black swirls. That'll bring out a lot of the colour in the blackwood. Has a lot of honey tones to it. So yes, I broke a bandsaw blade. This is my Laguna Pro Force blade. It's a 3 TPI 19mm blade. Very minimal set on it. really good for resawing, pretty expensive for what it was because it's just Swedish steel or silicon steel rather than bimetal. So silicon steel is just regular carbon steel with more silicon in it, so it goes a bit smoother, and it's more expensive than bimetal but nowhere near as durable. So this broke after resawing the 2 slabs, so that was a 300mm resaw. I've had this blade for about 2 years now, so I've probably got my money out of it, and I'm not exactly sure why it broke. So a couple of things that went wrong. Blade is getting a bit old, so there were a few fatigue marks in it. I cranked the tension up probably a little bit too high. It seemed like the tension was loosening off on it, and it probably was as the cracks were opening. But I think the main thing was the gunk on it. And I'd actually cleaned this before I started sawing, but something in the blackwood was gunking up the blade. I think I've got a photo of how gross it was afterwards. So when I then cleaned the blade, once I finished my 2 resawing jobs and I didn't realise it had cracked, I started cleaning it and it stained my hand. It was a couple of days ago now, and I still can't get the stain from the blackwood off my hand. So apparently, and I'm not sure whether this is true, blackwood gets its name from what it did to its workers' hands. So it's not a blackwood, it's a brown, a light brown wood at that. Looks like koa if you've seen koa and not blackwood. But the tannins in the wood and general gumminess, I guess, would stain the workers of the wood's hands black. And I can certainly see that after just getting a little bit in my hand before I switched to gloves to clean it. I've had 3 days, two or 3 days of a stained hand. I think that contributed a fair bit to the heat, which caused issues with the blade. The stuff on that is the gunk. It's everywhere over the bandsaw. It's baked on now to the tyres, or pressed into the tyres. I had to scrape that off with a metal scraper. So I don't know if that's a common thing with blackwood or whether I did something wrong. Maybe there was gunk left on the blade that I didn't get off and it reacted funnily. I'm not sure, but either way I'm out of blade now. But that's no big deal. As I said, I've probably got my money's worth out of this blade. I've got a spare replacement one, same TPI, a little wider kerf. So the final thing to talk about is YouTube's recent monetization changes. If you don't know, as of next month, the requirements to have a monetized channel is 4,000 view hours or 1,000 subscribers. 4,000 view hours is over 12 months, rolling period, and 1,000 subscribers is just whatever you are at the moment. Many people are viewing this as YouTube trying to take down small creators. And I guess it depends on what your definition, or what YouTube's definition of small creators are. Video creators. So there are channels with millions of subscribers. There is channels with hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And then the rest, like 100,000 is where you get the first award and sort of first recognition of you've made it somewhere. So in YouTube's eyes, they probably view anyone under 100,000 as micro creator rather than just small creator. Maybe, maybe not. For my primary channel, it's not affected at all. I am doing more than the 4,000 view hours per month. That's not a big deal to me. For this channel, I've got the subscribers, but I don't have the view count. Again, not a huge deal to me in terms of how much money I'd be getting from it or not. It doesn't really affect the bottom line. Now, I know that makes me sound perhaps like a bit of a jerk if you are being hit by either the 4,000 hours or the 1,000 subscribers. And I can see both sides of that. It sucks for the small person, particularly if you've just hit monetization, or their previous stance on it was 10,000 views, lifetime views. So this is quite a bit more. And then you've got the subscriber count on top of that. So that sucks, and I get that. At the same time, YouTube has to do something. The amount of spam channels that make the monetization reviews unmanageable by humans does not help the situation for anybody involved. More than once I've had to shut down multiple channels or submit DCMA reports for multiple channels, 50 videos at a time, that they've just taken from me and re-uploaded. And those videos will only get 10 views each, but they might have 500 videos on their channel that they upload just like that. Those ones get monetized, they take money away from actual creators who aren't just uploading someone else's content. So YouTube need to have some sort of policy. The 1,000 subscribers probably makes more sense than the 4,000 view hours. 4,000 view hours for spam channels, super easy. 1,000 subscribers, a little bit harder. I'm not saying this is the right way to do it. I don't know what the right way is. I don't have a better solution, but it does kind of suck for the small guy. But the flip side is that once you get past that mark, you're not losing money from people uploading your content quite as easily. And it means that there's more money in the pool to be spread around the actual legitimate creators. Now, I'm not saying that small creators aren't legitimate creators, but hopefully you understand where I'm getting at with this. It's a bit of a crappy situation either way. Either they do nothing and then everyone's CPM goes down because spam channels are prolific, or they try and cut out the people who are getting maybe $100 a year in a bid to make sure that the spam channels have a harder time of doing anything. I don't know. So if you are a small creator and you didn't know about that, surprise! Woo. On this channel though, as I've just remembered, I've filmed the next episode of the Australian Woodworkers on YouTube Spotlight, so I will hopefully resume that next week. I want to get another couple of episodes shot and get them all edited in one hit, because that process is just a very lengthy process for a very short video. So if I can batch them all out, it'll be a little bit speedier for me. That's all I've got for you today. Thanks for watching.